Malik Willis, and you've said time and time again you don't think that there are any star quarterbacks that are destined for stardom in this draft class, but the Panthers reach here for one. Why?
Well, I think when you're desperate for a quarterback, you get desperate. And that's what these teams picking quarterbacks this high are going to be. If you have to label them, they're desperate teams. Until you solve it, you got to do everything in your power to fix it. And this would be an opportunity for them to try and fix it. I don't like Malik Willis as much as everybody else does. I think he's raw. I think there's a great arm there. He's, what is he doing when he plays quarterback? That's the question. When you talk to scouts and personnel people, that was a problem for him because he came to the line of scrimmage. They run this weird offense. He rips it, and he can rip it. Don't get me wrong, but he is raw. And people comparing him to Josh Allen, no, do not do that. It's not the same. He's a different type of quarterback. At least when Josh Allen was he had accuracy issues at Wyoming, but a lot of his passes were doinking off guys' face masks. This guy misses a lot. So I wouldn't take him. But I think Carolina, if you don't have a quarterback, you take one. I would take Pickett here, but I'll put Willis in this spot.
Oh, Falcons trading away Matt Ryan, going with Marcus Mariota likely as the starter this season. And it's Kenny Pickett here at number 8. He's your number 1 quarterback, right?
He's who I would take first overall, first of the quarterbacks. I would take Kenny Pickett. And I think, again, this is a team. Until you fix the position, you have to try to address it. And I think Kenny Pickett's the most NFL ready. I think he can step in right away and play. He's not going to be forced to because they do have Marcus Mariota there. But I think Kenny Pickett is the most NFL ready, can step in and play right away.
I agree that he's the most NFL ready. Pete's crazy if he thinks he's not playing next year because Marcus Mariota is going to last about 2 quarters on that offense that has absolutely no one other than Kyle Pitts. They're in worse shape than the Texans. They're in worse shape than the Jaguars. You can't name a team that has less on paper offensively than what the Falcons currently find themselves. So, again, I understand the pick. I think you could go perhaps defense here. You could take a Sauce Gardner, for example, to pair opposite A.J. Terrell. That ain't going to move the needle in terms of making your football team immeasurably better right away. Kenny Pickett isn't either. That's the issue. There's no one to be there to protect him. He's not having anyone to throw the ball to. There's not much running game to speak of. But as Pete just noted with the Carolina Panthers, sometimes when you're desperate, you do desperate things. And I'm sure Arthur Smith didn't sign up for this. He's looking for a quarterback, and if he likes Kenny Pickett, I would imagine he would think long and hard about taking him right here at number 8.
They're going to be bad enough, though, that you would think that they'll be near the top of next year's draft when there are going to be better quarterbacks, right?
Are there? I mean, everybody says that every year. Oh, next year's going to be a great quarterback class.
We're going to look at them differently than this year's class.
Well, you're talking about Alabama, right? You talk about him.
Of course, Bryce Young.
He's tiny. He's 5'11". I mean, is Stroud at Ohio State?
So are you trying to say that the class of 23 draft is going to be worse than this quarterback?
I think there's going to be some guys that emerge. I think there's some quarterbacks. The Kentucky quarterback is a guy who can emerge. I think Miami's quarterback, Van Dyke, can emerge. But as of right now, we talk about Bryce Young. He's 5'11".
Ryan, have you done a 23 mock yet?
I've done 3 of them.
Okay.
And Bryce Young, Pete is actually right. There are concerns about Bryce Young. His size is a big concern. He didn't mention Tanner McKee out of Stanford. That's another guy to keep an eye on. He's bigger, so I don't know if Pete's okay with that. But I think on paper, Pete, you would admit that next year's class feels better than it did right now as we sit here looking at this class.
Yes, but Stroud would probably be one, but then what? Then you got a 5'10" quarterback. Then what else do you have? I mean, seriously.
You got to keep your fingers crossed on Spencer Rattler is what you got to do.
Oh, stop it. He was awful at Oklahoma.
Pete, you take a look at the trade details here, and it's kind of, how would you describe the swap? A lot of people think that the Eagles got the better end of this thing.
They fleeced them. I think this is.
So why would the Saints do it?
Look, they might be trying to get a left tackle and another position here, a wide receiver, but I don't understand the whole mechanism of the thing. They got fleeced. Unless they're going to try and move up to go get one of the top quarterbacks, which I can't see them doing. They do need a quarterback. Let's be real. I mean, they were trying to get Deshaun Watson. They were looking at other guys. And when you look up...
do you consider this, because you have him taking Desmond Ridder.
I think Desmond Ridder's better than Malik Willis.
Do you consider this, though, would you call this trading up for a quarterback? Would this fit that bill?
No, I'm talking about if they took 2 more picks, took these 2 picks and went to go get one of the other guys. And that's why I sent that tweet out saying if you trade up to go get one of those 2 guys, you're making a major mistake. But if you stay here, now that you're here, and you take Ridder, and then you can get another piece with your other pick, then I understand that. I think, and I'm in the minority on this, but you know me, I'll stick my neck out for guys, Josh Allen, Mills, Davis Mills. I was, ahead of the curve on those 2. I'm ahead of the curve on this one. I think Ridder is better than Malik Willis.
Did you hear that, Ryan? He stuck his neck out for Davis Mills last year. Those are Pete's words.
Well, I did. I was one of the few.
long neck Davis Mills, who went in the third round. Way to go, Pete. You took one. You really went out on a limb on that
If
one.
he
Let
was
me
in
ask
this
you
draft,
Pete.
he'd be
I
the
love
first.
Desmond
Hey,
Ridder.
Ryan, if he was in this draft, he'd be the
Yeah,
first
he
quarterback
would.
taken. The first, ahead of all those
That's
other
right.
guys.
Absolutely, because this quarterback class, as we've noted several times over the course of the last 8 months, is not very good. But I'll just have one question for you about Desmond Ridder, who I love. When we spoke with him at the Combine, you made fun of me for falling in love with all those guys. He is a leader among leaders, and he had a lot to do with Cincinnati's success. But, Pete, his accuracy issues are troubling if you're going to take him among the first 32 picks. So how are you reconciling that with taking him in the middle of the first round?
I don't think his accuracy issues are that bad. And I'm going to give you a couple examples. I'm going to go back to the Alabama game where everybody said he played awful in that game. Terrible, right? There was a play where he read the field right, had a touchdown, had Pierce beat the corner in a man move, and it was batted down to the line of scrimmage. He had 6 passes batted down at the line of scrimmage in that game. 6. His offensive line wasn't very good. I think his accuracy is better than you think. I think he anticipates, he reads the field. And here's the other thing. Ryan mentioned it. In talking to people leading up to this draft and talking to scouts and personnel people and coaches I respect, they say Ridder commands. When he walks in, he commands it. And that's what you want from your quarterback. You don't want a mealy-mouthed quarterback. You want a guy who's going to walk in.
Who would be a mealy-mouthed quarterback?
There's been plenty of them.
Name one of them.
Well, I mean, there's some people who think Tua is mealy-mouthed. So take it for what it's worth.
I like how you don't say that you think he is. You said, well, some people think he is. That's Pete Prisco for you. Let's move to Pittsburgh, number 20, and looking for the replacement for Big Ben Roethlisberger. Probably not going to be Mitch Trubisky. At least I know Pete doesn't think so. Matt Corral out of Ole Miss. Why do you think that this is a really good fit for what they do offensively with the passing game?
Well, because their offense, what they want to do is run a lot of RPO stuff and get the, and he's perfect for that. He ran a lot of that stuff at Ole Miss, and so I think he would fit with what they do. Plus, Trubisky can play for a year. The one concern about Matt Corral, one of the concerns, is he's little. He's small. He's thin. He only weighed 205. He played at 205 last year. They tried to get him up to 215. He never got to that. So a year watching Trubisky play, put on the weight, and then maybe the Steelers have their quarterback in the future. I wouldn't take him here, but I'm just saying desperate teams for the quarterbacks do desperate things.
Yeah, I don't know if it's desperate at 20, but Matt Corral's been my QB1 throughout the fall. That hasn't changed. I like him a lot. I know some teams like him as their QB1s, but again, you talk to 32 teams, you get 32 different answers. And Pete, you're right about the RPO connection between the Steelers and Ole Miss and Matt Corral, because there's really no other reason to bring Matt Canada back as the offensive coordinator based on what happened last year, unless you really plan on running that RPO offense, because we saw none of it last year. Big Ben struggled, the offense struggled. So I think if you're going to do that, and Mr. Trubisky's only on a 2-year deal, draft Matt Corral if you like him. And if you like him a lot, take him there at 20 and see what happens.
For as bad as we think this quarterback class is, Pete, you still had 4 quarterbacks in your top 20.
Because there's desperation.
Yeah.
Until you solve it, until you fix it, you got to keep
And it's quarterback
taking your
league.
shots at
That's
it.
what it's
Yeah.
all about. So what the Bengals did with Joe Burrow in the second
You get those one guys, the guys that fill in like Trubisky's of the world and stuff. You might have your aberration seasons, everything might go your way, but to have sustainable success in this league, you have to have a legitimate quarterback. So
That's your top
swing
20.
for it. Yeah.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.